This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some major update to share with you. President Biden heads to Asia as the Senate prepares to vote for the $40 billion Ukraine bill today. Joe Manchin wants to vote for Ukraine over the Build Back Better. I'll give you the latest on those $1,000 checks. Plus, gas is expected to go over $5 per gallon, and families are really hurt by inflation. I'll let you know what the Democrats are doing about it and what the Republicans are doing about it in two different video clips. I'll share what they say about that. Plus, one county is giving thousands of residents $500 checks over 2 years, and then $3,850 is going to certain Americans as relief checks, and then SSDI $3,333 are going out this week in payments, and I'll give you some other important updates as well. Hope you're having a terrific Thursday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below, and I'm giving $200 to my subscribers. I'll talk more about that later on in the video, but first, White House braced for North Korean nuclear test during Biden's Asia trip. So tomorrow, Friday, President Biden is going to Asia. He's going to South Korea and Japan. He's going to meet with Australian leaders, do a bunch of Asian stuff over there. And meanwhile, North Korea plans to do a missile or nuclear test while Joe Biden is on the trip to South Korea and Japan. So I guess what they're saying here is our intelligence does reflect the genuine possibility that there will be either a further missile test, including long-range missile test, or a nuclear test, or frankly both in the days leading into, on, or after the president's trip into the region. So we'll see what happens there. I'll keep you updated. Speaking of President Biden, so Biden to meet with Democratic senators on student loan debt. So President Biden still slowly trickling out information about student loan forgiveness, but to be honest, I think the sooner we get to midterm elections, that's when all the big news is going to break about student loan forgiveness. He could have done it. He's had about 2 years in office almost to do student loan forgiveness, which was one of his first promises, but I think he's waiting strategically and politically to do it at the right time. So he's going to meet and they're going to talk about that. And then also, after delay, Senate poised to send $40 billion in Ukraine aid to Biden. So the vote is supposed to be today. It was stalled by Senator Rand Paul with a dispute about the spending. I've asked a lot of you what you think about $40 billion, if that's a good idea or not. A lot of you are saying no to all of it, and some are saying maybe do a little bit, but not $40 billion, and that money should be used for the U.S. Well, it looks like it's gaining a lot of support and most likely going to pass. Even Mitch McConnell is on board and pushes for $40 billion in Ukraine aid bill through divided GOP. And it looks like there's enough Republican senators that will probably vote for it to make it pass. And even Joe Manchin is on board for Ukraine. So Joe Manchin says he wants to help Ukraine defeat Russia before taking on Biden's economic agenda. So I guess if asked if you wanted to take on Ukraine bill or the Build Back Better or parts of the economic agenda, Joe Manchin just doesn't want to do anything with the economic agenda or Build Back Better or whatever the Democrats wanted to do. So Manchin wants to aid Ukraine first before dealing with Biden's economic agenda, saying right now is how do we get Ukraine and make sure that Ukraine wins the war. So more on what Joe Manchin said here is we're in a much different part in the world right now with the turmoil that we have right now is how do we get Ukraine to make sure that Ukraine wins this war. We should be going what we call pedal to the metal back home in West Virginia as hard as we can to help Ukraine. We should be doing everything we can to make sure Ukraine can secure their country, and then we should all be gathering together in a Marshall Plan to help rebuild. So what are your thoughts on Joe Manchin choosing Ukraine over the Build Back Better? Do you agree, disagree? And when it comes to the Build Back Better, we're about out of time in terms of the deadline. They said a soft deadline, May 31st, which is 2 weeks away, because after that point, a lot of Democrats and Republicans are going to be focusing on the midterm elections, which means that not much time is going to be devoted to big packages. So we're running out of time, and it doesn't look likely. And then also the hope for a $1,000 stimulus check to every American is waning as well. So stimulus check update, Representative urges $1,000 for every American over Ukraine bill. So a Republican representative said this the other day, that instead of the $40 billion going to Ukraine, that $40 billion should be used to give money to Americans, and potentially $1,000 for every American. So if the Ukraine bill passes, looks like that is not going to happen as well. All while inflation is the number one challenge facing families right now, and gas is going up and up. So gasoline could top $5 a gallon this summer, causing more pain for consumers. So drivers will likely pay more than $5 a gallon for unleaded gasoline across the U.S. this summer, as uncertainty about Russia and tight supply pressure prices. So let me know, what is the price of gas in your area? By me, it's like, I think last I checked, it was like $4.06 a gallon in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. But let me know down in the comments below, what's the price of your gas in your area? I'm really curious. And what is being done about all of this? Well, here is the Democrat perspective of how to help inflation, gas, as well as a few other problems, and then I'll let you know what the Republican perspective Congress member says about that after.
Well, I know folks are concerned about inflation. I come from a family, and I mean this sincerely like most of you, where the price of gasoline went up significantly, the price of food went up. That's what we talked about at the dinner table and the kitchen table. It meant a lot. We felt it. We felt it. I understand we're going to beat inflation, but beyond that, it's all about quality of life.
President Biden last week speaking to union workers in Chicago about his family's own personal struggles with inflation. At a closed-door meeting of House Democrats earlier this month, Congresswoman Katie Porter of California also shared her own experiences with rising costs as one of just 4 single parents currently serving in Congress. And the Congresswoman joins us now. She's a member of the House Committee on Oversight and Reform. Thank you very much for being with us. Tell me when you first really saw the impact of inflation on your own family and what you're hearing from your constituents.
Well, over the course of several months during the pandemic, we would all experience going into the grocery store. Sometimes things wouldn't be on the shelf, but it's really been over the last 6 months, maybe 9 months, that I've noticed it in the grocery store. And I've done some checking. My grocery store bill seems $20, $30, $40 higher, and things have gone up. I actually recently did a side-by-side of my grocery bill from a month ago, from 6 months ago to today, and all but 2 items that I put in my cart on a regular basis had gone up in costs. And it's just changing how my family shops and how my family eats.
Now, obviously, it's important to show constituents that you empathize with these issues and that you're experiencing them yourself. But how much of this problem can Washington really control?
Well, I think that's a great point, Mika. Inflation has several causes in this moment, and it's going to take several solutions to do it. And one of the things that we're seeing is Democrats are trying to make efforts, to make inroads in addressing inflation. And we're doing that by directly tackling price gouging at the pump with a bill that I have with Congresswoman Kim Schreier that the House is going to vote on this week to strike back at price gouging at the pump. We also are working on addressing issues relating to food production and issues relating to baby formula. And so it's going to take that plus changes in monetary policy, plus, frankly, some time for us to get over the pandemic, to get inflation back where we want to see it for a healthy, strong economy.
Good morning, Congresswoman. It's great to have you with us this morning. I'm glad you mentioned baby formula. You've been so good over the years at looking out for consumers. I'm curious what more can be done. This is a very real crisis for so many Americans. And yes, they're going to open up this other lab, struck a deal yesterday to do that. But that means weeks or months even down the road that we'll see formula on shelves. So what is your message to a mother and a father sitting out there right now saying we're having to mix things together to kind of create our own formula? When will formula be back on the shelves?
Well, I think what the White House has done here is act very, very quickly. And I think we are going to see some of that stress relieve fairly quickly. Part of this, of course, is people are saying, I'm worried I'm not going to find it. So when they do find it, they're buying a lot and they're storing it. So I think putting that factory back online in a safe way is the most important thing that the White House could have done. Congress is also going to move some bills this week to help. But I have questions about why we allowed the FDA to leave this plant shut down down for such a long period, and why we're not better monitoring the potential shortages that occur when we have things like a plant go offline. So I think we need to do a better job in the administration and in Congress of monitoring these supply chain shortages and getting ahead of them so we don't put parents in this really difficult situation.
Yeah. But, Congresswoman, back to inflation as we close. How do Democrats message on this? I mean, the bottom line for Americans, they're busy. They're looking at the cost of gas and the cost of their groceries. And I think there's a concern that Democrats will say, well, we have the solution. You can't have the solution to a problem that has so many conflicting factors to it, some of them uncontrollable. So within that reality, how do Democrats message effectively on this?
Well, I think Democrats need to be talking about inflation and show that we are putting forth solutions and we are delivering on them. You're absolutely right. There's not just one bill. There's no magic thing to do about inflation, but there are steps we can take, and we are taking them. We're taking votes this week. We're taking votes last week. We voted on the Competes Act a few weeks ago. What Republicans are doing is just complaining about inflation, and Democrats are trying to do something about it. It's a complex process, but we are in action for the American people, and that's what they need to understand.
Congresswoman Katie Porter.
What are your thoughts on what Representative Katie Porter has to say? Do you agree, disagree? Is there more to this than just a Republican-Democrat issue? Is it on a wider scale? Let me know your thoughts on all of that. Now, what can be done from the Republican perspective? Take a look at what the Republican Senator Rick Scott has to say.
All the while, U.S. gasoline prices hitting another all-time high today, now at $4.56 a gallon nationwide. There's not one state with average prices under $4. Diesel prices at a new record as well, $5.57 a gallon. That's hurting farmers from coast to coast, everywhere. And where do nearly 9 out of 10 Americans think this economy is going? Straight into a recession in the next year. Joining me now, Republican Florida Senator Rick Scott. Senator, always a pleasure. What do you make of the market, gasoline prices, inflation, and the direction of this country?
I mean, it's horrible. I mean, since Biden got elected, inflation's gone up almost every month, 8.3%. Producer price index up 11%. This stuff is like highest in 40 years. We've got the GDP down. Now we've got the stock market down, labor participation down. There is nothing that the Biden administration is doing to fix this economy. When you think about what do Americans want? They want a steady job, they want steady prices, they want a good education system, and they want to be safe. The Biden administration has not been responding to any of this. And now, if you feel for these moms that can't even get baby formula in the United States of America, and Joe Biden basically doesn't do anything about it, it doesn't make any sense what's going on right now.
Well, on that note, the position of the Biden administration seems to be to alienate, castigate, and blame companies and the people who founded them, who run them, for every imaginable problem. And they wear, on the outside, an open hostility to those who are prosperous. And I'll point to the country's richest man, the world's richest man, one of our greatest modern-day entrepreneurs, a longtime Democrat voter, has turned his back on this White House and the Democrat Party. Here's Elon Musk. Listen to this.
I have voted overwhelmingly for Democrats historically, overwhelmingly. Like I'm not sure. I might never have voted for a Republican, just to be clear.
Right.
Now this election, I will.
What do you make of that, Senator?
I think every American is thinking this way. How can what this administration is doing is just bad for all American families. I mean, I agree with Elon Musk. This administration, you can't vote for Democrats right now. You're voting for high prices. You're voting for shortages. First, the Biden administration sort of acts like an ostrich. They always put their head in the sand and don't do anything. Now it's just a blame game. Everybody else is responsible. Businesses are responsible. And by the way, I'm from Florida. Here's the latest. They're trying to appease Cuba, the dictatorship in Cuba and the dictatorship in Venezuela, and they want Venezuelan oil, but not Texas oil. I mean, you can't make any of this stuff up. The radical left completely controls Biden, or that's who he is now, it seems like, when he makes any sense.
What are your thoughts on what Republican Senator Rick Scott has to say? Do you agree, disagree? So, stimulus update. Did stimulus funds lead to inflation? Jeff Bezos thinks so, as well as most Republicans, and some Democrats believe that as well. So, I mentioned the back and forth between Jeff Bezos and President Biden, saying that President Biden and his stimulus packages is what caused inflation. And then President Biden hits back and says, well, we need to tax the wealthy because Jeff Bezos and Amazon barely pay any taxes. So that's basically what this article is about here. And then Cook County in Illinois launches guaranteed income pilot program. Thousands of residents to get $500 a month for 2 years. So this is applications will be taken in the fall for 3,250 spots, which is another huge one, and it's $500 a month for 2 years. So they just basically launched this and, letting everyone know about it. So I guess they're getting everything together for that. That's pretty big. And it's crazy how just the way these articles lined up, how it's coming in threes, right? So 3,250 spots, and then another 3,000 number, and then another one after that. If you're into numerology, I don't know, what does this all mean, all these three numbers? Let me know. So thousands of Americans could get up to $3,850, including an energy relief check as soon as July. Do you qualify? So this is another huge check going on in Alaska. So the vote comes as the Alaska legislator, if it's passed, an energy rebate check for thousands of Alaska residents could come soon, or could come later. So basically with this, it's a huge $3,850 in energy relief for Alaskans. A lot of money there, a lot of money in Alaska. I guess there's less people. And then Social Security Supplemental Income 2022 SSDI payments up to $3,333 out this week. Here's how to claim back pay. So another 3,000 number, and a lot of threes here. So yeah, let me know, what do all the threes mean here? So basically what it's talking about here is SSDI. If you're born between the 11th and 20th, you get the payment, which was yesterday, probably going to see in your account today. And if your birth date is the 21st to the 31st, it'll be deposited on May 25th. And the average pay for disabled workers has gone up from $1,282 to $1,358 per month, and the maximum amount that SSDI recipients could get is $3,333 each month this year. So basically talking about those numbers and the date, and that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys. Hi guys, this is Belle. This is the tip of the day. I want to tell you something. If you can't find a way to do something, then do something that you really want to do that you haven't done. Hi guys. Even if you can't make the first one happen. So that's all I wanted to say. Say bye. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all of your time, all of your support. Today's another good day. We have some plans with friends later on. I'm going to do one of those little swimming pool things in my friend's backyard with all the little water everywhere. Hopefully you have a great day as well. If you want to check out my latest pickleball video, you could click up here, and I'll see you in the next video. And don't forget about those $200 checks, and take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.